We would like to welcome everyone out to our City Council meeting this evening. We would like to call this meeting to order. We would like to begin by a prayer by Sandy Boley and then the Pledge of Allegiance by Michael Chantry. Amen.
Please stand. Please repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. See you.
Before I start, I just wanted to make mention that the All-Together Playground was built this past week by about 3,100 to 3,500 volunteers. 4,100, thank you, Debbie. Volunteers and many thousands of dollars of donation. And many of you that are here helped work on it. We want to thank all the volunteers who helped to work on that. It's a wonderful cause. It's a great opportunity for our community to come together, and it'll be a playground that will be well used for many years by those that are disabled and those that are abled, and by many families and many children. So we just want to thank all those who worked on it. We want to thank Steve Downs for his participation together with Pete Wolfley on that, and Bren and Jamie and all the city council that helped with it. So could we just give a round of applause for this wonderful effort? Thank you. We'll now move on. We have approval of minutes, the minutes of City Council meeting of August 23rd, 2016. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I'd like to go over upcoming events. This week, September 14th through the 16th, we have the Utah League of Cities and Towns Annual Convention at the Salt Lake City Sheraton Hotel. On September the 28th, we have the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce Executive Summit up at the Sundance Resort from 7:30 to 4. On October the 3rd, we have the Orchard, which is the new park at University Place. We will have the ribbon cutting at 10 a.m. I understand there's going to be some pumpkin smashing going on at that same time, so you may want to attend. October the 6th, we have the City of Orem Employee Appreciation Day at noon at the Palisades Park. October the 8th, we have the Utah Valley University President's Scholarship Ball at 6 p.m. at the UCCU Center. October the 18th, we have the City of Orem Town Hall meeting at 6 p.m. at Bonneville Elementary. Sam Lentz, Tom McDonald, and Brent Sumner will be attending. On November the 11th, we have the City of Orem Veterans Day program, 11 a.m. at the cemetery. November the 21st, we have the City of Orem Lights On at 6 p.m. with the annual Christmas program. We now want to go over to our city manager appointment. We have an appointment to the board. And Jamie, I'll turn some time over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight, we have an opportunity to appoint a new member to the Board of Building and Fire Code Appeals. It is our recommendation, or my recommendation, that we appoint R. Bryant Christensen for service in that particular role. Mr. Christensen has been a 33-year resident of the city of Orem. He has worked in cooperation with his brother and has been in the building and development business since 1985. Mr. Christensen previously served as a member of the Board of Appeals And as you know, this is a city manager appointment, but it does require your advice and consent. And so it would be necessary to make that appointment by way of a motion from you as a mayor and city council.
So moved. Second?
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
We will now go to our personal appearances. We have 6 people who wish to speak. First of all, we'll hear from Sandy Boley. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes and give us your name and address. Afterwards, we'll hear from James Fawcett and then Tyson Dixon. So Sandy, you're first.
I'm a member of the Senior Center and also of the Utah County Republican Women. And we need some advice or support from the city on things that we can do to be more active in our membership in the Senior Center. And if you think of things that can, that us seniors, and some of us are very, very seniors, can do and accomplish to help for the city or to help in anything, just to keep us active, it'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy. We'll now hear from James Fawcett.
Hi, James Fawcett, 453 780 North, Orem. I have a little handout that get to you, to the city council members. Okay. Back in April, the city council passed a water master plan, and Bowen and Cullen took a long time to get that plan hashed out. As you can remember, that I got with Hans Anderson, and he used it as a campaign issue about water storage and increasing the pipes. That was going to be for the Southwest Annex. That was going to be for Vineyard. And the city decided that that was 100% false, and they fought against it. Tuesday, in November, Tuesday, was the elections. On Friday, they had engineering companies over at Central meeting together to figure out what they could do on the bids and the bidding process to do storage with Orem. Amazing. So here we are. The city council, they didn't discuss this interlocal agreement or this agreement that they were doing with Central. It was just, it just bypassed the city council, and there was an agreement with Central and with Vineyard to look into the storage. And so here, Bowen and Collins, they got this plan. You guys approved it in April, 5 months ago, and now they're talking about almost $100 million in more piping. They figured out pressures, velocity. They figured out everything. If you look through that master plan, Bowens knew about all these pressure problems. He knew about all that when you go through it. But somehow we're going to get hit. We should back out. We should shut those valves to Vineyard. Just shut them down. Have the wholesaler, Central Utah, just supply the water to. If they need to run a pipeline through Orem, they can. If we can share, maybe give them the property to use in the park, and we can use some of that storage for free because we're giving a spot in the park. But it should be to our benefit. I heard Casey should be taken off. He's the project manager. He should be taken off of the Public Works Advisory Commission.
Okay, thank you. We'll now hear from Tyson Dixon, after which we'll hear from Alma Harrington. Alema.
Hello, my name is Tyson Dixon. I am the.
Where do you live?
I've got two homes in here.
Give us one address.
Here in 71 West and 750 North. The second home is 574 West, 760 North, Orem. I am the one of the owners of Renaissance Ranch Outpatient. We have two separate buildings in Orem. You may have seen them off of Center Street and 800 North. But I work with, we have about 25 staff members and over 65 clients in the Wasatch Front. A third of those are in Orem. About a third of those clients, so we have 12 right now in two separate homes that are categorized as sober living homes within the Orem City's ordinance. They're, in speaking with our partners and owners and also our clinical staff, there's two great reasons why we need to increase the capacity in those homes. The most important reason is for a therapeutic community to develop and to be as strong as it can. The two critical components are accountability and support. And we have 5 sober living homes. We've been doing this for a while, and we really understand how to create the best culture in a home, the best environment. And as it sits, we've got one home's a 5 and one home's a 6-bedroom home. Some of the residents have are in a bedroom by themselves. And it's just for the levels of support and accountability that we feel in their best interest to receive as individuals in recovering. We would like them to have a greater deal of support. The second item is, and reason why we need that, why we're asking for the city's approval in increasing the capacity in that ordinance, is for financial reasons. The cost that it takes to staff these homes and to support individuals in recovery is pretty extensive. And in order for us to meet that obligation of increasing that, it would also help dramatically from the financial aspect. So there's our points on that. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Alema Harrington. I'm here speaking on behalf
What is your address?
71 West and 750 North, also the home that was mentioned by Tyson Dixon. 2 sober living homes that are under our care with Renaissance Ranch that are here in Orem City. And speaking tonight, advocating on behalf of extending the number of occupants from 6 to 8 to provide a therapeutic community that would be beneficial to the overall success of the residents that are seeking treatment, both in our outpatient program as well in our sober living environments. And wanted just to speak to that point from a counselor's position as a substance use disorder counselor. I received my degree from Utah Valley University in 2012, and also as a recovering addict that understands the importance of the support and the accountability that Tyson Dixon just mentioned moments ago. And we're looking for an opportunity to increase the success of the clients that come through this program, so that it will continue to benefit not just them, but this community. And as it benefits the community, continues to benefit our state overall. So just here to lend my support and advocate on behalf of that change from 6 to 8 occupants. And I want to thank the City Council and Mayor for your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from Sarah Bateman and Andrew Redd.
Good evening. Sarah Bateman, 521 West, 740 North. As many of you know, I love community, and I've really enjoyed the opportunities to serve in this community in Orem. Last week was fantastic. I loved it. It fed my soul, and I learned a lot. It was nice to be able to work with a lot of different people from the city, from Habitat for Humanity, and other volunteers, residents of Orem. And so, when's the next one? But in that vein of community, I come again to formally invite the city of Orem to the upcoming fall free swap. Free swap, this is like a free yard sale where members of the community are welcome to come and bring whatever they would like to pass along to somebody else for free, or come shop for free. It has benefited many people, not just in Orem, but in surrounding communities. And it's a great opportunity to come together and share the abundance that we do have in this wider community. I'll tell you about one new thing that we're trying this fall. We'll see how it goes. We've reached out to some of the local growers, and we understand that a lot of growers are unable to sell some of their healthy but ugly produce. And so we are inviting them to participate in the free swap and donate to our free ugly fruit stand that will be a component to the free swap as well, to try to get fresh fruits and vegetables to as many people in our community as possible. So the free swap will be on Saturday, September 24th. It will be from 9 to 1, and you can leave your wallets at home. Well, leave your money at home, I guess. If you're bringing your car, you should bring your wallet. And bring your friends. It's lots of fun to come hang out and see what a great community we live in.
Where?
Oh, sorry. The Rotary Pavilion here at the City Center Park. Did I get all the pertinent information?
Yep.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now hear from Andrew Redd.
Thank you. My name is Andrew Redd. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. My address here, our office is 267 West Center Street, also 1600 South, 350 East. And I am a counselor, the coordinator of our Renaissance Ranch outpatient here in this community. I have lived in Orem for the past 8 years. I have seen the disease of drug addiction and alcoholism affect the community members and destroy families. Thankfully, it got bad enough for me where over 3 years ago, I surrendered. I raised my hand and I asked for help. And I went to the Renaissance Ranch Residential Treatment Center and I got help. From that point, my relationships with my wife was so affected by my addictions. It wasn't safe for her and I to live in the same place due to the lack of trust, due to the strain that we'd had on our relationship and around the 3 daughters that I had. I went and lived in a sober living residence in Salt Lake City because there wasn't many resources in this area. I'm an active member in the recovery community here, participate in recovery days on a daily basis. I meet with men and come across women in our community who are affected by alcoholism, by drug addiction, not bad people, but they ended up picking up an injury and got addicted to pain pills, or they have so much stress in their life, they resort to alcohol to numb those feelings. And one of the big concerns that we have right now is the lack of placement for these individuals who are still capable of holding jobs, who are fathers, who are mothers, who are employees, and they want to be around their family, but they also want a safe place to live. I'm advocating that we allow 8 people in a sober living home a recovery residence where they can build a fellowship of support and love that I had, and now I'm able to give back to the community. I met with 2 individuals this week who are in need of a sober living because their relationships with their parents are affected. To go home, they get enabled, they don't have boundaries. What we do is we employ staff who are there consistently, who are able to help set up boundaries and help these men and these women to develop coping skills and stress management skills so they can go and give back to the community. I know how this city has been affected by alcoholism and drug addiction, and I believe firmly that this is one of the solutions that we can offer to those people who are willing to get help. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now go ahead and close personal appearance section of our meeting this evening. I don't believe that there are any consent items, so we'll go on to our schedule items, the first being a public hearing on affordable senior housing development standards. This is an ordinance amending section 22-12-7 of the Orem City Code pertaining to development standards in the affordable senior housing or ASH overlay zone. Jason Bench is our presenter, and I believe we have Linnell here from the Utah Housing Authority. So we'll turn it over to Jason.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I do have Linnell with me, and I appreciate her coming up and being a part of this presentation. She'll have a few things to say after and be able to address any questions that you may have concerning our proposal. Tonight we're before you to just give you a background a little bit and then propose some changes to our affordable senior housing overlay zone. It was enacted back in 2012. It was a half-a-mile swath on either side of State Street, going the entire 5.25 miles stretch of the city to have opportunities for these lower-income affordable housing homes to be constructed within that corridor. It was encouraged that the intent was to be low-income. And the hope was that as you allow additional units on a single lot that would allow a single-family home only, but allow up to 4 units, depending on the size, that the cost of having that additional units, together with the ability to hopefully build affordably, they can be able to recoup their costs instead of the 1 unit, to have the 4 units and to be able to build them affordable and be able to pass that on to the tenants. What we found is we have 2 projects that have been completed, one at 562 North. There are 2 buildings there, so 8 units at that location on Main Street, and then one at 443 East, 400 South, which is just south of Orem High School. You can see those are the top 2 on this chart here. Each of those units average just over 1,700 square feet per unit, so they're pretty large. I don't think that was our intent. One of them has 4 bedrooms, one has 3, but there is an ability to have 4 in one of them. So they're extremely large. As we had opportunity to get reports, the ordinance requires an annual report. There were some issues with who they rented to, the costs of the rents, and things weren't in line with our affordable housing zone. And so we thought that it might be an opportunity now for us to propose some changes to get it back in line and meet the intent, really, of what we intended back in 2012. The ordinance does tie into the HUD requirements, urban housing and urban development requirements, and so it wasn't necessarily clear on how that played out, and so we actually clarified some of the languages, working with our attorney staff to clarify that language. So that's part of the first one, is to clarify that the income of all those that live in that unit would be a combined income to meet the 80% requirement of the median income of the county. Clarify that the utilities are included in the total rent, and that's part of the HUD requirements, except phone is excluded out of that requirement. To have a maximum, we have a minimum size of 500 square feet, but there was no maximum at the time we developed this ordinance, and so we want to propose that 900 square feet be put in as a maximum size for these units. And a maximum of 2 bedrooms. There is no maximum right now, and so we propose that we amend that to have the 2-bedroom maximum in the units. Basements would be allowed. Currently, we propose that they not be allowed, to get back to the idea that the whole intent of this ordinance was to have affordable housing. And so the larger these units are, the less likely they're going to be affordable for the seniors that we're trying to attract to these units. And then as part of number 6 was the opportunity to fit into the neighborhood. We thought it might be wise to have a little more architectural aesthetics to that. We proposed 40%, and I'll talk later on the Planning Commission's recommendations as well. So this just kind of outlines. I can go through the text if you'd like, but this kind of highlights the changes, the combined income, the rents needing to be part of the utilities, maximum square footage of 900, no basements, and then the finishing materials. This is the 2016 fair market rent summary out of the documents that Linnell provided to us. 2016 income limit. So if you look at the outline in red, the 80% median income for Utah County in 2016 was $43,300. So any of these units cannot be rented to anybody that makes over that amount. A 2-bedroom unit based on this fair market rent could not exceed $788. And so this is our proposal tonight, is to make sure that we clarify the ordinance, the people that build these facilities understand what the rents have to be, what the qualifications are for people that live in those units, and go from there. The Planning Commission did review it. They did have a couple of suggestions and recommendations to the council, one being that instead of 2 bedrooms, that we allow up to 3 bedrooms. Instead of the 900, they suggested 1,200 square feet. They also included the opportunity to include vinyl as one of the finishing materials, and then reduce the amount of brick and stone that we, as staff, proposed from 40% down to 20%. The Planning Commission made these recommendations. Staff feels that we would propose that we stick with the 2 bedrooms per unit. We stick with the 900 square feet per unit, and the no basements. And we're flexible on the percentage of building materials, but feel strongly about the size of these units to be able to make them affordable and to meet the intent that we had originally. I'll turn this some time to Linnell, and she can address some things that she has for you tonight.
Good evening. My name is Linnell Smith, and I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Utah County. Several new faces on this commission. I've not seen a lot of you before, so this is a good opportunity. The Housing Authority was created by the Utah County Commission in 1973 to help address affordable housing issues in the community and to provide educational opportunities so city planners can make appropriate decisions for their community. Throughout the years, we've developed new projects as precious limited funding became available. And each time we develop, we consider the needs of the community, the housing that's available currently, identify the barriers that are there, and then we try to fill in the gaps wherever they may be. And we have found that affordable 1-bedroom units in Utah County are extremely hard to find. They're rarely affordable for those on limited income. The units that we develop are safe, attractive, and affordable. And unfortunately, density for affordable housing is often limited when we're working to establish good relationships with both neighbors and communities and cities. In 2000, we built 4 1-bedroom fourplexes on a strip of land along 12th South that had 4 single-family homes on it. We demolished the homes, built the fourplexes in order to help provide more affordable housing for seniors. They're 700 square foot units, and they've been home to 49 residents throughout these 15 years. And we still have 2 original residents living there. 15
And what do those rent for?
They, the tenants pay 30% of their income, and then they receive rental assistance, a subsidy, Section 8 subsidy as well. So the apartments, I believe, are $565, I believe, is what the gross rents are. Those who have moved out of the project did so only to move on to a living facility, assisted living facility, or death. So they're there for the last few years of their life. Average head of household age is 78 years. Average length of time they've been in the unit is 7 years, and their average annual income for the household is $11,000 a year. Before they moved into those apartments, many of these folks were homeowners, often recently widowed and no longer able to care for their large home or yards. Many were temporarily living with family members, bouncing between children and neighborhoods and communities. If they could find a smaller unit to move into, they were unable to afford the rent that was being charged. And they were often faced with the decision of paying for rent or paying for food and medication. Most had sold most of their belongings or distributed them to the family members, and they no longer needed a larger unit. And we found this model to be so successful that we duplicated it with 12 units in American Fork. And they are thrilled with that project, and they've identified some land and are welcoming us back. And we're applying for funding for 26 more units this fall to help fill that gap. Orem City saw the value of this, as Jason explained, and created that overlay zone in 2012. And actually, the apartments are modeled after the apartments that we built in 2000. All one level, entrances on 4 different sides, small 1-bedroom apartments. In 2015, the Housing Authority commissioned a market study in anticipation for the new development in American Fork. And the study identified 3,000 senior renters aged 62 plus with limited income, having extreme cost burdens for rent, and only 330 affordable senior apartments available in Utah County. Vacancy rates in Utah County right now have decreased to less than 2%, and rental rates are increasing 7 to 10% each year. Without a cap on the amount of rent being charged in our community, rents quickly skyrocket out of reach for those most vulnerable. The study reiterated the demand for affordable senior rental units. And in Orem alone, and this is not just seniors, but demand for affordable housing exceeds supply by 75%. You're not meeting the need that's out there right now. These 330 affordable senior housing units are scattered throughout the county, and those who have developed those properties throughout the years have focused on small units. 296 of those 330 are 1-bedroom, 6 are studio, and 28 are 2-bedroom. The Housing Authority owns 59 of those senior apartments, and they're all 1-bedroom units. 95% are occupied by a household of 1, 3% are occupied by a household of 2, they're married couples, and 1 household has a 17-year-old child living with her. We have a waiting list of over 300 for those 59 apartments right now. 87% are a household of 1, 12% are a household of 2, and 2 households have a minor children living with them. Of those 300 applicants, 2/3 are extremely low income, making below $14,000 a year, and 1/3 have very low income, making below $23,000 a year. As of today, I went through the filing cabinet. We have 12 elderly clients with a Section 8 subsidy voucher right now looking for affordable housing in Utah County. They're unable to find it. Their average age is 69. 1 household is married, and the others are all single-member households with an average annual income of $12,000. Again, we found that if they can locate an available apartment to meet their needs, the rent is typically beyond the guidelines, making it unaffordable for them. And just to share a little insight, we recently had a married couple. The husband was diagnosed with dementia and was moved into an assisted living facility because the wife could no longer care for his needs. And when he moved, his Social Security income of $1,100 a month went with him to help pay for his care. And she was left with $250 a month. And fortunately, we were a current resource for her, and her rent was adjusted to match her income. And she didn't need to worry about being evicted for non-payment of rent while she was trying to cope with this new change in her life. What would she have done if she didn't have affordable rent? Where would she have gone? She didn't have family. Sorry. Very passionate about helping the seniors. So the Housing Authority, we're a small participant in a relatively small pool of players trying to resolve affordable housing issues. And it's unfortunate in this country that the need is so extensive, especially in our communities here in Utah County. We can't accomplish this task alone. We rely on other partners to help make a difference. And we're grateful for the opportunity to work together in partnerships with cities, neighborhoods, and developers to help fill that basic need of shelter. We support safe, affordable, and quality rental units, and we support the Planning Commission's recommendation for 1 to 2 bedroom units of senior housing to support that basic need of life. Thank you for your consideration. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy.
So, Linnell, tell me again how long you've been working with the Fair Housing Authority?
23 years.
Okay,
I've been the director for 4.
okay. So tell me what you saw as the need 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and today.
Actually, the Housing Authority, and that's funny you mentioned that, we've gone through a morphosis as well. Years ago, we have 170 apartments that we rent throughout the community. And about in 2009, when I first started, it was mainly large families. About 2008, 2009, we found that the large families weren't there anymore, and we had a huge need for 1 and 2 bedroom units. So we sold off actually 27 of our single-family public housing units. And the proceeds from the sale of those units, we did it in a public sale, were required by HUD to develop 94 additional apartments, 1 and 2 bedrooms. So we went through the planning process, the studies at that time, and we realized that large families, there's a few, but that's not the huge demand anymore. It's the 1 and 2 and 3 bedroom families right now who are working. We have 23 out of 1,000 families we assist every month that are receiving welfare. That's a very small percentage. It's not your typical welfare stereotype of who's receiving housing assistance. It's the working poor. The wages in the community, as you can see from Jason's chart, $43,000 for a family of 2. That's really not a high wage. And most of the people in our community make below that. 1 in 4 right now make well below that.
And I noticed the average was 69 years of age.
Uh-huh.
Can you?
On the senior housing waiting list.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the seniors that are renting, what's their average?
You're in the 70s, 78, I think, for that one complex.
Okay.
So once they get in, they stay
Okay.
for the duration of their life.
Okay. All right, thank you. Councilman McDonald.
Thank you for 23 years of service to our community, Linnell. I appreciate hearing about that, and obviously your emotional tie to it. One of the issues of discussion is whether it should be 20% brick versus 40%, and I think the 40% would clearly look better. Would it price, in your opinion, would it price developers out of the market, or can we hold to that standard and have a better looking property, not only for those who live in it, but for neighbors who are going to be neighbors to these facilities? Any idea that you'd have there? I don't know how much that would raise a building cost. Maybe, Jason, you could opine on that as well.
I'm not familiar with building cost and what that would change it to be. The units that we develop throughout the community fit with the neighborhoods. So we try to mimic what's in the neighborhood or increase it a little bit to help improve that curb appeal. Have you seen our projects on 12th South?
No.
And First East?
12 South and where?
Between 42 and 88 East.
Yes, I think I have seen this.
It's right
Sorry.
behind the car dealership.
Right.
Those are all brick, I believe.
They're all brick.
Yeah.
There may be some stucco, I'm not sure.
Do you know what their percentages are, Jason? Refresh my memory. We could probably call them up on the screen and look.
It's highly percent brick. I mean, it's,
Okay.
if there is stucco, there's not much.
Frankly, I think the long-term cost, the long-term holding cost would be better if it were all brick versus some kind of something else, but that's something for the developer to do.
I mean, obviously, it's going to increase the cost. The higher the material, the quality is going to increase it up front. Our intent behind that is that you're going from 1 unit availability to 4.
You cut the price of the land, obviously,
Cut that
dramatically.
by increasing the look of the building.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other comments from the council? Councilmember Lentz.
So I had a question about how utilities are factored in. My understanding from the discussion in the Planning Commission was that this doesn't necessarily reflect a change per se, but more clarification of this is how really it always should have been, but might not have been understood properly. So can you speak to how that's going to be factored in? And granted, utilities can fluctuate from 1 month to or 1 season to another. So is that an annual average that gets calculated, or just walk me through how that will be factored in? Okay.
In layman's terms, as quickly as I can explain this, HUD and government red tape, you understand how that is. The $788 for a 2-bedroom is the absolute maximum that rent plus utilities can be charged for that dwelling. So if a tenant has to pay utilities, Then you go off the local housing authority, and we have one, a utility allowance chart, and it's not dollar for dollar what your utilities are, it's an allowance. Determine the makeup of the appliances, which are gas, which are electric. Go down this chart and figure out what the allowance is for that makeup of unit. Subtract that from the $788, and that would be the most the rent could be. The utilities are whatever they are, and the tenant pays them. Or the landlord can include them all in rent, whatever he chooses to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Kind of.
Close enough. The more important question is, can we explain this in a way to the property owner, the developer, in a way that it's clear to them, in a way that we can enforce it and monitor it?
I think going forward, we'll work with Linnell to kind of give a checklist or cheat sheet, I guess, to explain how this works. I think we're a little bit undereducated as well, so I think we can provide a little more detail to the developers going forward.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So a question is, the reason why we're including rent in the total, including utilities in the total rent figure, what is?
That's a HUD requirement.
That's a HUD.
That rent and utilities don't exceed a certain percentage of household income.
Okay.
So as a follow-up to that, the biggest challenge, as I've been thinking about this for the last month, essentially, right now I'm kind of sitting somewhere close to the 2-bedroom mark, and I'm trying to think of some kind of justification for, can we justify why a 3-bedroom would be defendable as part of this ordinance? The best example I've been able to brainstorm is if you have, in my mind, if you have a set of grandparents who are caring through, due to unforeseen circumstances, or caring for their grandchildren, and let's say they have a grandson and a granddaughter, do we want to force that grandson and granddaughter to share a room essentially as they grow in adolescence and things like that? So to me, that's the best example I could kind of think of why a 3-bedroom might be justified, and we would still, the spirit of the law, we'd want them to be able to have access to affordable housing. I'm wondering if the solution is with the existing 3-bedroom properties that we have. My understanding, Jason, is that they would be legal non-conforming, so they would still be allowed to operate on, even though they're 3 bedrooms, they could continue operating as long as they meet the other requirements.
Right.
I'm wondering, would that be enough to meet the demand for, because I'm not sure how many cases like that we have in Orem, and how many grandparents do we have that meet the age requirement, the income requirements, that are caring for minors, where I think there's a legitimate justification for 3 bedrooms. Would those legal non-conforming, as long as they continue to operate, would that be enough to satisfy that need for this?
Well, and getting back to what Linnell was saying, the average age of some of these residents are, in their late 70s, and the chances are going to be very rare that they're going to have a grandchild living in them. So I would rather be on the cautious side of 2, and on an occasion that may not fit for everybody, but they're, rather than design it for the worst case scenario, and we end up with these 3 units that are going to be higher rents and really unaffordable to the target that we're trying to get.
So, and you cover this at the Planning Commission, but maybe just for the purposes of this discussion, could you, and Steve, if you feel need to chime in as well, talk about the challenges we have with enforcement of our existing policies. And I think one of the kind of driving factors is, can we design this in a way where it would require fewer city resources to try to police and enforce this going forward?
Yeah, right now we have in the ordinance itself a requirement for an annual report, which is how we discovered that we've had some concerns and issues with our current ordinance, is when they discovered that they were charging rents that were over and above what was allowed by the HUD requirements, and then also the people that they were renting to were over the allotment as far as underage, or they had children that were their children that were living there, so multiple families within one unit, and so there was some occupancy issues that we also were dealing with. So the enforcement is that we need to then obviously take action and try to work with them. In this case, it took us, we're still in the process of working with them. We allowed them, because they had all the leases already signed, we allowed them a year to get back into compliance. And so it is an ongoing enforcement issue, that these 2 bedrooms and 900 square feet would lessen the likelihood of having those issues in the future. Obviously, we may still have, with the existing buildings, because they're so large, an issue going forward, but we hope to cease that as we go through with the smaller units.
Okay, thank you.
Linnell, could you repeat for us what the demand is as far as percentage goes of one bedroom, two bedroom, or of one person, two person? You were talking about that we need 330 more apartments.
And about 2,700 more apartments.
2,700, okay.
As I count.
And you had talked about the percentage of being 80% one person, 15% two person. Is that correct?
We have, okay, our waiting list, I think that's where you're getting the numbers from. We have a waiting list of over 300 for my 59 apartments.
Waiting list, yes.
Okay. For my 59 apartments, and 87% of them are a household of one.
Okay.
12% are a household of two.
Okay. So that's 99% with either one or two persons. Okay. I think that's important to remember. Councilmember McDonald.
Mayor, I think I was going to emphasize the same point you were to Councilman Lentz's concern. It sounds like we have some 3 bedrooms out there and people could wait for that, but it seems like the vast majority of demand is for 2 bedroom or less. And so the fact that Orem would limit it to 2 bedrooms, that we already have some 3 bedrooms grandfathered in, there seems like there would be ample opportunity. There's not ample opportunity for any of them, but there is at least some opportunity to get on a waiting list for a 3 bedroom, but the demand is for 2 bedrooms, is what I'm hearing.
And if I can point out, too, just an example of the 3-bedroom unit, $1,148 per rent. You can find a lot of market rate apartments for that same price.
Right.
Or less.
Excuse me, Mayor, if I may continue, that's where the big delta is between 2 and 3. Between 1 and 2, not a big delta. Frankly, between 4 and 3, not as big of a delta, but that 2 to 3 is a killer.
Yeah, there's a lot of the current projects in Orem, not currently built, but existing projects are renting for that or less.
So, Tom, I agree with what you just said, but at the same time, 87% on the waiting list are 1 bedroom or 1 person.
1 person.
Yes, that's huge.
I think we're just saying the max would be 2. We wouldn't prevent them from building ones, correct? But the max would be 2.
But I'm just saying this huge, you're talking about the delta, the huge delta.
Oh,
really,
yeah, people are willing to save $100 getting 1 bedroom.
Well, one person
Yeah.
versus 2 people, 87% down to 12%, and then from there. So this 87% is what we're trying to satisfy, and that's what's not being satisfied.
And I think you need to look at the intent of what the ordinance was designed for. Affordable housing,
Yes,
not amenities. You're supporting life, maybe not lifestyle.
right.
Everyone like an extra bedroom. You probably all have 1 or 2 that are just sitting.
So I remember years ago, I had some dealings with the owners, and I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but they have an apartment complex with 18 apartments for seniors across the Orem Community Hospital. I think it's called Orem Oaks. And they were all either 1 or 2 bedroom, and at that time they were $500 a month. But I remember they had a waiting list of seniors trying to get in there. And I just remember looking and meeting some of those people, and there's just such a huge demand in that category.
They're desperate.
So,
Really desperate.
any other comments from the council? Yes, Sam.
One thing just to clarify, Jason, the one property that is currently going through the application process, have they gotten far enough along the way that they would still be allowed to build the 3-bedroom fourplex?
Yes.
And be legal non-conforming like the ones that are already in?
Yeah, they're in the process.
So this is just moving forward.
Anything new coming? Yep.
Okay, so this is a public hearing, and we would like to open it up to the public. We would ask that anyone who wants to make a comment hold their comments to 3 minutes and give us their address. Saying, okay, going.
Hi, my name's Debbie Gamble. I actually live in Linden, 12th
Okay.
East 100.
We won't hold that against you, so.
Thank you, but I do own property in Orem. I just have a question about the utilities. Utilities can mean a lot of things: cable, internet, gas, water, trash, electric. I was looking for some clarification on that.
Jason, can you?
Thanks.
Maybe you'll have to let Linnell help us.
All but cable and phone. Gas, electric, water, sewer, garbage.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this and bring it back to the council. If there's no other comments, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion. I move that the City Council amends Section 22-12-7 of the Orem City Code pertaining to development standards in the Affordable Senior Housing Overlay Zone, with the recommendation that the City Council allow 2 bedrooms per unit, up to 900 square feet per dwelling unit, meeting the fair market rent standards, with utilities being included in the rent, adding vinyl siding as a building material, and reduce the building material of brick and stone from 40% to 30% as a compromise. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Sorry, just to clarify, did you,
And no basements allowed.
did you say 2 bedrooms at 900 square feet?
I did.
Okay, I was just trying to, because we have written what the planning commission was,
Right, and
kind of have a hybrid there.
this is, yeah, this is a new motion. This is not following what the planning commission said. And I can reread that again if you,
That might be good, just because I.
okay.
Yeah.
So I'm,
The key points, would you, Mayor? That
Sure.
sure. So 2 bedrooms, 900 square feet, no basements. The rent would be according to the fair market rent standards, including the utilities in the rent, and that the rent is 80% below the median income, or that the income is 80% of the median income, and that vinyl siding is added as a building material, and that we reduce that the building material of brick and stone be 30%. And that's it.
Can we discuss the 30%?
Pardon me?
Can we discuss the 30%?
Sure, it's still a motion with a second, but yes, go ahead.
So the idea was 40
Comprom-
too much, 20 is too little, 30's.
I like 20 better. Jason likes 40 better. I respect Jason, so I thought I'd hit 30%.
I think I like 20 better too, but.
Is that because the emphasis is to make it more advantageous for the developer to build these, or?
For me, it's to keep the cost down. So, for example, in Orem Oaks, it's all vinyl siding. There is no there is no brick or stone. And brick or stone costs money. If you notice homes being built right now, nobody builds an all-brick home. Nobody. And I mean, very few. Everybody is into siding or stucco or whatever. Tom may live in an all-brick home. I live in an all-brick home, but these were homes built before. People are not building all-brick homes because of the cost. So I'm just looking at it from the perspective not so much of making it aesthetically beautiful, but to try to keep the cost down. And, I've seen some apartments that are 30% brick, and they look great, with vinyl being the rest of it.
I think the challenge I struggle with a little bit, and I haven't, so my thought was the units that we have here in Orem that were built a little bit ago that are 100% brick, if you have 4 separate sides, you're basically saying at 30%, one side could basically have the brick front or the stone front, and the rest could not.
If I can correct, the way the ordinance is written is 30% per side.
Per side.
Yeah. We're treating each side as a front.
So typically, you're going to come up.
So you'll have a bit of a halfway up is the rock or whatever.
Say the side is 8 or 9 feet up, so 3 feet would be, your brick or your stone, and the rest would be vinyl or stucco.
Do you see a major difference from the 30 to 40?
No.
From the overall appearance, that seems to be it.
Our intent was to have them fit better into the community. So there's going to be a mix of housing types. There's going to be a mix of materials. This is just a way to instead of having an all siding or all stucco or, it gives a mix of materials.
And 30% gets us closer then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
Can I ask Jason one more question?
Yes.
So, if somebody wants to develop a property like this, do they have to submit a site plan to you to review? And I'm just wondering, would that give us a checkpoint? Let's say we set it at 20%, and would that give the planning staff the opportunity to look at that neighborhood and see if that fits enough and it meets the spirit of the law essentially to fit with the rest of the neighborhood, even if this neighborhood it might be more like 20%, this neighborhood might be more like 40%?
The Planning Commission does approve all site plans for this particular thing. I would rather have a specific set standard than letting the planning commission deviate from that.
Again, the planning commission has approved 20%. You have recommended 40%.
Yes. Well, we recommended 40. The planning commission, made a modification to our.
And so I have put in the compromise of 30%. Yes, Tom?
Mayor, I'm happy with the compromise. I still think the guy who's built this for a 30-year hold for his family may still go all brick. Neighbor just built his home with all brick. Now, granted, it's probably in a different economic area than some of these might be built, but I still think some could go all brick, and we don't hold them back from that. If they're looking at long-term hold, cost of ownership, they may go all brick, and there's no limitation other than it can't be less than the 30.
That's correct.
Said.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm ready.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. We'll start with Councilmember Spencer.
Aye.
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 Okay, the resolution passes. Thank you, Leno.
Thank you very much.
Just to let you know, we very much support the cause of what this is, and it's a growing need, and I think we recognize that. And this is all about the seniors. It's not about the developers. So,
It may be tight, but they can make it work.
yes, thank you.
Mayor, can I make one comment before she leaves? In all the documents, you refer to anyone over 60 as elderly?
The council objects to that.
Yeah.
That's in the city code now, I believe. Is that?
I was going to put that in the motion, but
I'm still okay for another month or two with definition.
Thank you, Linnell. Okay, we'd now like to move on to item number 15, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the interlocal agreement between the city of Orem and the jurisdictions of Utah County, Provo City, Pleasant Grove City, American Fork City, Alpine City, Spanish Fork City, Santaquin City, Lehigh City, Springville City, Payson City, Mapleton City, Salem City, Saratoga Springs City, Linden City, Lone Peak Public Safety District, City of Cedar Hills, Highland City, regarding the continued existence of the Utah County Major Crimes Task Force. This is not a public hearing, it's a resolution, and our presenter is our Police Chief, Gary Giles, and we'll turn the time over to Gary.
Thank you, Mayor. The task force, the Utah County Major Crimes Task Force, has actually been in existence since 1997. We have signed some interlocal agreements with all of these other agencies that were mentioned. I won't go through them all. You did a very good job.
Thank you.
We've actually signed interlocal agreements in the past. However, recent Department of Justice rules have required that we review our agreements annually, and in order to receive some of the equitable sharing funds, which are our forfeiture funds that are done federally. So there's some that are done at a state level, some federally. The Department of Justice requirements actually require that we re-sign this agreement. This agreement is the same as what we've done in the past, other than two things. One is it extends the agreement out until 2026. And number two is in Section 15, which actually will hopefully take the place of having to re-sign this every year, is that we will authorize the task force director, who currently is Lieutenant Todd Mallinson from Orem Police Department, to annually sign the agreement and execute certificates, acknowledgments, or other evidences of proof of review and or updating as required by applicable laws, rules, and regulations. So that would take care of the requirement the Department of Justice has for the equitable sharing for the review of the interlocal agreement. If anything were to change in the interlocal agreement, obviously it would have to come back to all of the jurisdictions and entities for a new interlocal agreement.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Okay. I would entertain a motion.
I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Mayor, I move that we enter into an interlocal agreement between the City of Orem and jurisdictions of Utah County, Provo City, Pleasant Grove City, American Fork City, Alpine City, Spanish Fork City, Santaquin City, Lehigh City, Springville City, Payson City, Mapleton City, Salem City, Saratoga Springs City, Linden City, Lone Peak Public Safety District, City of Cedar Hills, Highland City, regarding the continued existence of the Utah County Major Crimes Task Force.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember McDonald.
Aye.
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 Okay, the resolution passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate all you do for our city. Are there any communication items? I would like to bring up one thing as a note for the public record here, and that is that a press release went out today with regards to the storytelling festival, the Timpanogos Storytelling Festival, that it will be moving from the city of Orem to Thanksgiving Point, and the Institute, Storytelling Institute, has made this decision. We have put forward a press release. The Institute has felt like that they have outgrown the space, need more room, and need a better location. I would just like to mention that they've been an integral part of our city for 27 years. We've loved having them. They're a wonderful group and a wonderful operation that we've been able to participate in every year, and we wish them well. I think they'll do well out at Thanksgiving Point. Karen Ashton and the Institute are owned by her, and the Thanksgiving Point is owned by her family for the most part, and so we understand their feeling for a need to move, but we wish them well and thank them very much for being here. I would like to read a press release. Jamie, if you have that, could we read the press release that has gone out today with regards to the Institute and the city putting forth a joint press release?
Mayor, the Herald has already run this article. It's at the press.
I would like to have it in the record.
Just so you know, it's out.
While you're looking, I just wanted to take this time also to thank Shar Crozier, our library director, and the library staff. They have done a wonderful job for years, and I watched them put forth a lot of effort this year, though I wasn't there for the whole weekend. And we just want to thank them, so I'm wondering if we can give Shar and the library staff a round of applause for all they've done.
Mayor, this is dated September 13th, 2016. It says a joint release, new location for Timpanogos Storytelling Festival with the City of Orem and Timpanogos Storytelling Institute serving as the issuers of this press release. It reads, with an eye toward future needs, the City of Orem and the Timpanogos Storytelling Institute are finalizing a plan to relocate the annual Timpanogos Storytelling Festival to Thanksgiving Point as early as 2017. Orem has been home to the Timp Storytelling Festival for the past 27 years. The idea for this new type of Utah festival developed as Karen Ashton, dedicated library board member, and other friends of the Orem Public Library continued to pursue fundraising options to spur the construction of a new children's wing at the library. Even after donations and city bond funding were secured to complete the children's wing, the festival continued to be both a fundraiser and an annual event that provided family-friendly entertainment while celebrating the art of traditional storytelling. Growing crowds and festival success have brought logistical challenges over the years. In the first 15 years of existence, the festival outgrew its first home in the backyard of the Ashton residence and its second home on the Olmsted property owned by Rocky Mountain Power. Since 2005, the Timp Storytelling Festival has been presented at Orem's Mount Timpanogos Park, welcoming thousands of visitors and school children to this beautiful park in Provo Canyon. The city has been a constant support to the festival. Without the city's support, it would have been difficult to sustain the kind of growth that we have had over the years, said Karen Ashton, founder. Like a child who is leaving the beloved and cherished home of their childhood, we leave with the sweetest memories and look forward to the ongoing growth of storytelling in a wider community. With the Timp Storytelling Institute's increased involvement in year-round storytelling activities, moving the festival north to Thanksgiving Point will accommodate increased attendance from northern counties and schools, as well as provide additional parking and other amenities. Festival organizers have also decided to move the event to 1 week later in the year to better accommodate school and teacher schedules and allow attendees and volunteers with other Labor Day traditions to participate. While the proposed changes will be an adjustment for many, moving the date and location together seems to make the best sense. Quote, while this Timpanogos Storytelling Festival has been an incredible part of Orem's history, the city of Orem is looking forward to new opportunities. We know that storytelling has been an important part of the lives of many families, many Orem families, and it will be a tradition that lives on in our community. Orem residents can continue to enjoy storytelling programs at the Orem Public Library and other local venues throughout the year, said Stephen Downs in the city manager's office. Some of the new opportunities for Orem are the development of a long-awaited dog park at Mount Timpanogos Park, and the development of an auditorium adjacent to the Orem Public Library. The scaled-down auditorium project has also evolved over the years, but the much-needed space would serve the nearly 6,000 residents, both young and old, who attend approximately 1,000 library programs each year. Fundraising for the auditorium construction continues,